So, as we get closer to the start of the NBA season, Shams Charania of ESPN has announced not only the opening day games, but also Christmas. Let's start with the opening night games first. So, the big ones is going to be the Houston Rockets visiting the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Golden State Warriors at the Los Angeles Lakers. But let's talk a little bit about this Houston Rockets and Oklahoma City Thunder game. This is going to be crazy because Kevin Durant, obviously, he's on the Rockets now, and they're going to travel to Oklahoma City to see their banner get raised. And if you don't remember, Kevin Durant won an MVP with the Thunder back in 2012, 2014. That's going to be absolutely bogus. It's going to be so funny. Hopefully, this game should be a show because it's two of the more competitive teams in the West. Both teams are going to finish, I believe, in the top 4 of that conference. I'm super excited about this matchup. Kevin Durant returning to Oklahoma City. He's obviously already returned there. He's on now his 5th team, I believe, or 4th team since Oklahoma City. It's going to be a great matchup. Obviously, the Thunder are going to come back to, really show that, hey, we're not only a one-time winner, we could potentially win it again. And so I'm super excited about this matchup. Obviously, you get, Kevin Durant versus a young OKC team. It's kind of like the old head, the former great versus the new great in SGA. Some people are kind of, comparing their both resumes as Thunder players. Some people are now saying SGA is now the greatest Thunder of all time, which is definitely an argument, if you especially look at his accolades in terms of winning an NBA championship and also the MVP last season, a feat that Kevin Durant didn't do with the Thunder. He did win an MVP, but he never won a championship. So this could be a huge win also for the Houston Rockets. If they can win this game, their, presence will be announced. They could be really taken seriously because a lot of people are like, oh, they'll be good, but how good is the question, right? If they win this game, it could potentially start all the narratives in terms of them being the favorite in the West, as people are kind of shying away from picking, back-to-back champs because it's not as flashy online. But I still think OKC is one of the best teams in the NBA, if not the best. And so this could also be a game where they're like, no, you're not even close to us. You're not in our league. We're looking to go back-to-back while you're looking to win a playoff series, which I don't think the Rockets have done since 2019 or 2020, to say the least. So that's a great night 1 game of the NBA. Another one is Golden State versus Los Angeles. You get a Curry-LeBron matchup potentially for the last time, or not the last time, but one of the last times, as this could be LeBron's last season. This was very shocking to me, to say the least, though, because it feels like they're always kind of pushing Dallas versus the Lakers with the Luka trade. But no, they're like, let's go all in with Golden State versus Los Angeles. Obviously, Los Angeles is kind of a new team right now, with Luka Doncic kind of being the main guy, getting DeAndre Ayton, getting Marcus Smart. Will they, play into that? Or they're going to play into the LeBron being the guy, right? Obviously, Curry LeBron brings a tons of viewers, so I see it. But it's also like, you're going to get a lot of viewers on night 1 of the NBA. Like, you just will, because a lot of people are excited. It's like similar to night 1 or that Thursday night kickoff game of the NFL. Who cares who's playing? It will get watched because it's the first game of the NFL season. But I think they're double dipping on their odds here, being like, yes, it's the first night, but it's also, Lakers versus the Warriors, LeBron versus Curry. Why not? Now, obviously, the Warriors have yet to make any big moves this offseason. They still got Curry, though, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green. The Jonathan Kuminga situation is kind of weird. I'm going to assume he's going to remain a Warrior. There's rumors of him being traded, but let's assume he's on the Warriors. This could be actually a very good matchup because I think both these teams are in the same area when it comes to the West. The Lakers, I think, are definitely better and have a higher ceiling than the Warriors do, but these games are always fun, exciting, and if it's one of the last times we see Curry LeBron, I'm all here for it. Let me know what you guys think of these opening night matchups for the 2025-2026 NBA season. I think they cooked here. And then night 2 is kind of all the other teams play. I know Dallas playing San Antonio for the 3rd time to kick off a season. That's going to be interesting with Victor Wembanyama versus Cooper Flagg. And then also it's the 1st and 2nd pick, Dylan Harper versus Cooper Flagg. A lot of storylines there. So I'm super excited for these opening night matchups in the NBA. But also, it has been announced of the Christmas Day games. It's 5 games always on Christmas, so 10 teams get to play. And there's definitely some shocking matchups here, to say the least. The first one on that day slate is going to be the Cavs versus the New York Knicks. I think this is an absolute great matchup because I think these teams are going to be top 3 in the East. I do think this could have been a chance to put Orlando instead of Cleveland potentially, but New York was going to make it because they're a big market team, and Cleveland's going to be there because they're the reigning first seed in the East. So totally think it's a merited matchup, but again, this is going to be huge in terms of narratives, especially at this point in the season, because this will get closer to the middle point. You're kind of 1/3 in at this point of the NBA. And so are the Cavs going to back up their performance last regular season and continue to be the 1 seed? Or is this the time where the New York Knicks really kind of separate themselves from the pack in the East and kind of stamp themselves as the best team or the team to beat in the East? This is a great first matchup to start in the Christmas Day slate. However, this is the only Eastern Conference game, meaning it's the only team that consists of an East team playing on Christmas, which is interesting. It kind of just shows you where the NBA is as a whole. Very West heavy. The East is kind of broken right now, so I don't blame them. I kind of would have loved to see Orlando here, though, I think they're going to be really good this year. However, are they going to be better than the Cavs or the Knicks? Last season, it's technically a different story, so basing this off last season, I agree with this matchup. Then the second game will be the San Antonio Spurs at the Thunder. Thunder being the defending champs, they'll play on Christmas. But then the Spurs, second time they're playing on Christmas. I believe they played New York last year. Victor Wembanyama played. So this is going to be two young teams going at it. This is actually a very fascinating matchup. I do think the Thunder are going to be heavily favored in this one. However, it's a Chet versus Wemby matchup again. And those are always very interesting. Two big men in the draft, drafted. One was drafted first overall, the other one second overall. I'm super excited to see how this draft plays out, or this game plays out, because I think it could be another close game, as most of these games are going to be, in my opinion. However, this could be a chance for the Spurs to accelerate kind of their progression. But at the end of the day, I think the Thunder are just deeper than the Spurs, and this could be potentially the most boring game on this slate. Has the lowest floor for sure out of all of these games. Then you go to the Rockets at the Lakers. Kevin Durant versus LeBron. Those are always fun matchups. And again, it's kind of a new upcoming West team. Now I know they were the second seed last year, but they have a different feel about them this year. They have upside, it feels like, this year, whereas the Rockets were kind of unknown, and they definitely exceeded expectations last year. However, this year, they're kind of going all in, which is obviously a great for narratives as well. But this is a chance for the Lakers to kind of build up their momentum in terms of being a top contender. This, I think, has high potential for being the best game of the slate. It's going to be interesting. Hopefully both teams are healthy for this one, because it's definitely another star-studded matchup. I think the Lakers may have the betting odds in their favor for this one, especially being at home. But again, star-studded matchup. LeBron versus KD, Luka versus whoever. But regardless, I love this matchup. Middle spot, I think it's good. Usually the Lakers play a little bit later because they are on the West Coast. As you'll see with the rest of these games, they're most Pacific time, regardless of Denver being Mountain time. So it's later games, but we'll see how the timing works out for all of these. I'm assuming this is the order, but we're just going to have to take Shame's word for it as of right now. Then we go to the Dallas Mavericks visiting the Golden State Warriors. The first thing that catches your mind is Klay Thompson returning. Again, he's already returned, but Klay Thompson versus Curry, that's a great matchup. But then you also have the Christmas debut of Cooper Flagg, right? Kyrie's probably not going to be back for this game, which is a little disappointing. But then I think kind of evens it out even a little bit more. Draymond versus AD. A lot of storylines going into this one. This is just going to be a good game, I believe. Again, it has a lower floor in terms of, the quality of the basketball. However, I think with Cooper Flagg, he's going to be the main storyline. Cooper Flagg versus Curry. A lot of teams are talking trash on Twitter already about this matchup. You have Jimmy Butler, Curry, Draymond, versus Cooper Flagg, AD, and Klay Thompson. This is going to be another star-studded matchup, as all these games are. However, this could be one where are the Dallas Mavericks playing good basketball, right? Because I think the Warriors are going to be struggling going into this game a little bit. I think Dallas could potentially have, the same potential. However, it could be one where one team really needs a win here, and they're both kind of desperate at this point. And so one team exceeds the other, and now they kind of separate themselves from the pack, similar to the Lakers-Rockets game. And so I'm very interested to see also Cooper Flagg's debut, but also how the Mavericks and Warriors kind of enter this game, because that could really be the narrative of this one. Then to end it off, potentially, it's the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Denver Nuggets. Timberwolves didn't make too many moves this offseason. They re-signed their guys. Denver obviously, was coming off a great offseason. This is another, rematch of post-playoff, in the Western Conference semifinals 2 years ago. And so I think this is going to be a great matchup. Anthony Edwards versus Jokic. I do think Denver has clearly the better team this time around. And so I would say this could be very heavily in Denver's favor. However, if they bring back the Christmas Day uniforms, this game could have a whole lot of aura to it. I think Anthony Edwards is going to want to win on Christmas Day again potentially for the second year in a row. He defeated the Dallas Mavericks last year, and so he could end up spoiling the Denver Nugget fans' Christmas. Which when Anthony Edwards gets a little bit in his villain phase, this is going to be a very fun game to watch, especially if the new look Denver Nuggets look like the new look Denver Nuggets, especially if they're playing on all cylinders with their still same frame, but newly constructed roster, which is going to be very fun to watch, because I think both these teams are going to think that they're contending teams, and one team I think will come out on top of this one feeling way more confident than the other. So that'll do it for this NBA Christmas Day schedule. Also with the opening night schedule, let me know what your guys' thoughts are on both these day slates of NBA content. I'm super excited. So that'll do it for this video. Make sure you guys subscribe down below. Let me know your thoughts on today's video and what type of content you want to see from me in the future.